Anirudh Bharatpur is from the 14th generation of the former Bharatpur royal family. He recently got embroiled in a controversy involving his father and former Rajasthan cabinet minister Vishwendra Singh, but now the man wants to make a fresh start in politics. With me right now is Anirudh. Anirudh, good afternoon to you too. How did things reach such a stage?
Right. So what you are essentially referring to is my tweet that highlighted the essential problem in the media. Now, what happens is you must understand, Ankur, that nobody wakes up one morning and says, "Oh, I'm going to make a controversial tweet." It doesn't quite work like that. What had actually happened was that there were disputes, a number of disputes, and my mother and I, as anybody normal would, we were keeping quiet about it and trying to keep things under the carpet and deal with it. But there were news and rumors and murmurs and malicious and vile stories coming out from the other end.
What's the truth?
The truth was that those stories were not true. So I said, we can't be in this situation where there is an internal dispute, plus have everything and everybody, pointing fingers to us. So I said, Mom, I must put something out there. So that's why it was very consciously put out there. Of course, certain well-wishers got it taken off. But yes, that tweet, I think, was self-explanatory. So, you got your answers in it, I would say.
Anirudh, what's the status and what's the equation between you and your father? He once was a staunch Sachin pilot loyalist. Has he shifted uh, his loyalties? What is the status about that?
Right. So see, there's two halves to your question. So the first half I would answer by saying that I have not been in touch with him for 3 months. So if I have not been in touch with somebody for 3 months, you don't know what they are up to. As far as his loyalty of which camp is considered, because this camp business seems to be quite important here in Rajasthan, again, I don't know. You'd have to ask the person himself. There are 102 of these MLAs, and I'm not one. I'm not part of that system, so to say. So you must ask them as to where their loyalties rest. For myself, I can answer that question very well. That was with Sachin Pilot Saab, I am with Pilot Saab, and I will remain with Pilot Saab. He has been an excellent guide, an excellent mentor, and it's definitely somebody I turn to for inspiration and guidance. So why not? And I make no bones of that.
Right. But, right now, Mr. Pilot's situation is kind of, he's not the position that he once had in Rajasthan politics is no longer there. Where do you think the entire and the MLAs are being consulted by the Rajasthan Congress in charge currently? How do you look at the entire situation developing in Rajasthan?
Right. Those are actually a lot of questions in one, so I'll take my little sweet time to answer them. So first of all, what you said that Pilot Saab's position is not the same in Rajasthan. I would say, well, position on paper, yes, maybe, because of the certain decisions he took for the people of Rajasthan. But his love for the people of Rajasthan and the people of Rajasthan's love for him, his mass following, I think has only increased, day by day. So,
Anirudh, last year, by the Chief Minister himself, Mr. Pilot was called Nakara, Nikamma. There were several names that were called.
correct.
Uh, do you think things can return to what they were earlier, or do you think there has to be a certain kind of a paradigm shift as far as Mr. Pilot is concerned, and is he ready for it?
See, name calling is something that I wouldn't want to comment on. It's not something he commented. It happened at that moment, and I'm sure there is now enough, how do I say, water under the bridge concerning that. But I think this whole feedback exercise, which is going on as we speak, I think it should result in something solid in terms for the people of Rajasthan. Look, Pilot Saab's not doing anything, or we, his supporters, are not doing anything for ourselves. It is for the people of Rajasthan. And I personally feel that this whole feedback exercise, if implemented and followed correctly, would yield some very good results.
We can walk as we talk, I guess. What has been said is that your equation with your dad got into a difficult state because there were some financial disputes that were going on, and the property, the royal heritage property of Bharatpur, was at the risk of being sold. Is that true? What was going on over there?
Right. So I'm glad you've highlighted this, because a lot of people believe that the dispute actually occurred because of differing political ideology. That was not the case. I don't know what his ideology is. Mine is definitely Mr. Pilot, and that's how it is.
Mm.
Now, coming to talk about our kind of old families,
Mm.
we are now in democratic India. So
Mm.
everybody is an ordinary citizen, and it is old families like us who also fought for independence. However, because we've had a legacy, like I'm the 15th generation of that, of the Bharatpur family, it is not an automatic right that you get these properties. It is an earned privilege,
Mm.
and these properties are for you are the custodian of these properties. So if you're the custodian, you must look after them. You can generate income from them, which is mutually benefit to the property and, for the custodian. But these can't be sold. These are ancestral properties. Even by law, these can't be sold.
So
So
what
if
was
you
the dispute all about? Was he trying to, sell the family where?
Right. So the dispute essentially was that my mother and I have been financially independent of him for a very long period of time. I don't know, but because of his financial practices, it seemed on paper, which is also the reality, that he had collected a certain amount of debt.
Mm.
And in order to get rid of that debt, he was putting one of our palaces in Bharatpur on sale.
Mm.
And for a very well, it should not be on sale on at the very first, but even if it was, it wasn't even going for the value of what it was. I mean, you can't put a value to a palace these days. So obviously it was extremely saddening for me and my mother to see that. And then I said, hell ho, no, I'm the custodian, and I'm the next custodian. I'm not going to let this happen, because A, I have an ethical conscience to live to. B, I have to answer my children. What will they say, that what were you doing when this palace was sold off? So obviously I had to put a spoke in the wheel, and it sort of became a little ugly. But if history and custodianship need to be taken seriously, such steps have to be taken. There is no doubt about it.
Right. Well, there are several people. You come from the former royal family of Bharatpur. People have, really looked up to the family, and there is a certain amount of resentment or unhappiness over what has happened.
Correct.
But do you think that water has flown under the bridge and things can be restored now, or is there no looking back now?
So see, in terms of the people of Bharatpur, yes, I mean, when the tweet came out, there was mixed reactions. There were a lot of people who positively reacted. Some said, it could have just sort of been left to its own, it would have solved itself and all these things. But I think, looking in hindsight, those very people would have turned around to me 10 years later and said, what kind of a person were you when this was being flogged off? Where were you?
Hmm.
So no, I don't regret anything, if that is what you're asking. And